if you were to fast forward if Jordan Davis wins the Heisman, like, can you imagine him on the Heisman house just with all these wide receivers and running backs, like just mountain of a man just walking in, like, who stole my Swedish fish?
Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview Georgia's matchup with Charleston Southern, but we spend most of our time answering questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygottapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. Actually, are you gonna go? Are you gonna go to this game?
Am I going to go to the game? I don't know, man. It doesn't look good. The Carter Soccer Tournament schedule came out today, and so not only are we drawn in a pretty tough tournament this weekend. We play some teams that they haven't played in quite some time. They played the number 2 team in the state in group play Saturday afternoon at 5:00. So
Okay.
it's not looking good.
Yeah, that would not line up well. Yeah, we actually just finished like everything will be done. So Lily had her last game on Sunday this past weekend, and then so soccer, they've actually got their last kind of fall season-ending practice on Tuesday. So yeah, we actually kind of have an open weekend. I think our family tickets are being used. Like my sister and brother-in-law and their kids are going. So there will be butts in our seats at a minimum. I don't know. I may last minute be like, I'm going to go. And then like my dad and I will go. Otherwise, my mom and dad will go for the last 2 seats, I think. So TBD, I'm kind of on the fence. I want to go. We'll see. I'm kind of up in the air a bit. Which I started with that instead of what I usually start with, which is, what was that in your glass?
That was a good one. What do we got today?
Woodford. You've
got the Woodford. I've got Maker's 46. I'm trying to polish off the rest of this bottle.
I just ran out of that. I need to go get some more. So, at any rate,
it's such a reasonably priced bottle. I actually, this past weekend. So this is just the regular Maker's 46, but there's actually a cask strength. So this is 94 proof. The cask strength is like, I want to say it's like 106 or something like that proof. A little bit stronger, a little bit bolder, I guess, of a flavor. I haven't actually had it, so I did see it this weekend, so I might have to grab one of those here soon.
Gotcha. Nice.
It's such a good bottle, and it reminds me of Stetson Bennett because it has S4 on it.
The S4, right. Which we did not notice until a certain episode, right?
Yeah.
Who was it? I think Bernie Dog told us on Twitter what it meant. So that was good.
Yes. The mailman delivered again. Thanks a lot.
All right. So big, huge, monumental matchup this weekend against Charleston Southern. First question.
Yes.
Do you know what their mascot is?
I do. Let's see. What does a pirate pay for a drink at the bar, Jim?
A buck?
A buccaneer.
So they are, yes, the Buccaneers. 12 o'clock, the noon kickoff for the last home game. The game is on SEC Network Plus. So I think that will generally show up like in your DirecTV guide or your cable guide. I think for folks like me with YouTube TV, I think I have to like use the ESPN app to find that. But that's okay. That shouldn't be an issue. The official hashtag gets a little tricky this week. It's a little longer. So it's hashtag CHSO versus UGA. That's the hashtag. For those who are going, it looks like I don't know, decent day. I mean, obviously it's cold this time of year, but like partly cloudy, high 55, low of 34. So, it's the time of year where you get to break out your cold weather Georgia clothing that you don't get to wear as often. So that's always fun. Like, get your nice sock
Yeah.
hat maybe that you got. You could wear your. See, now this makes me kind of want to go because I could wear my starter jacket to this one.
You bust out the starter jacket.
I've yet to wear that to a game. Although I wore my other. It's not a starter jacket, but it looks like a starter jacket, and it's actually from the '90s. Yeah, I wore that to Lily's soccer tournament a couple weekends ago. It still fits. Still fits. I got that when I was like 13. The good thing is, everyone wore baggy clothes back then, so it still fits me now as an adult. Anyways,
that's pretty awesome.
So let's see, Charleston Southern. They're coming in with a 4-5 record. That's overall, and they are 3-4 in their conference. Do you know what their conference is?
Ooh, I don't. Is the American Conference? I'm just gonna throw it out there.
No, so they're FCS. So it's not one you would have heard of. The Big South. The Big South is their
the Big
conference.
South. Okay.
Do you know how many times we've played these guys before?
I do know this answer. We've played them once before in 2014.
Yes. 2014, and we beat them 55-9. So in 14, so that was what? That was Hudson Mason. That was, Chubb, etc.
That does not bode well because this is a much better team.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember at what point in the year that was. I feel like that was maybe like the week before Georgia Tech. Like I think it was at the end of the season. So I think like Gurley would have been out at that point. That would have been post injury, I believe. So at any rate, that's the only time we've ever played them before. So not a lot of history and things to reminisce about to go through with these guys. So we can kind of go to the news and notes, I suppose. So a few things. So it is senior day. Something that Kirby got asked about in the press conference was around like players like walking right for the pregame festivities for senior day. And he basically said that, he kind of leaves that up to the players, pointed out that they didn't have it, as we all remember, Vanderbilt stole our senior day last year when they canceled on us. So we missed that. He did say that like the guys that are back now, so like Justin Schaefer, Devontae Wyatt, Julian Rochester, they were all seniors last year and came back, with the COVID extra year. He did say that they were actually all planning to walk last year, had there been a senior day. So basically, if you walk as a senior on senior day, that does not mean that you're saying, I'm going to leave. You could still come back. So, a lot of these guys, who knows? I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's kind of a conversation down the line. But, with the whole COVID rules, like most of these guys could still come back. I think, Wyatt, Schaefer, Rochester, who's been here for like, I mean, I think Rochester really is a rich recruit. I was about to make that joke, but I think he actually is, right? Most of the other guys, could potentially come back. So,
yeah, I mean, I feel like that a lot of them are. I mean, there's just so much to consider with the COVID year.
Yeah,
I mean, I think there's some questions on Stetson and JT, and there's a lot of guys that could potentially come back.
Yep. So something I wanted to follow up on something from last week's News and Notes, because if you recall, we were debating whether or not hopeful and hoping, if there was any kind of difference, because Kirby had said something a little bit different. And I had to go look up what we were talking about. Thankfully, I still had my notes from last week. So last week it was Salyer. It was what he said about Salyer that had us questioning, like, ooh, maybe he will play, because he said hoping, not hopeful. But as we saw, Salyer still did not play. So it seems like either are the potential kiss of death, which, again, he talked about Salyer in today's press conference. Said he wasn't quite able to play last week. He was close, but then he added the dreadful hopeful to get him back. I think the Dom Blaylock news, I guess, was a little interesting. So he said he's practicing, he's healthy. He just hasn't been able to jump in the rotation because he hasn't gotten much work with the ones and twos. So I don't know. This could be a week. Maybe we see him as long as he's actually healthy. I don't know. Just considering opponent level, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. He mentioned hopeful, so I'm
That's right.
really
That was in there too. Yeah, so probably.
I'm really gone out.
I think the good news. I almost said hopefully, but whatever. What we think is potentially good news is he said that Nolan Smith should be fine and Devontae Wyatt should be fine. So I'm just gonna.
That should ease your ease your soapbox from last episode.
my rant from the Tennessee Review. Fair.
Yeah, the rant.
Fair. Yeah. So let's. Now Kirby's got me wanting to say hopeful and hope nonstop too. I almost said it again. So whatever. Let's see those guys play this week. Try not to use that word. Now we get into the point of the show where we break down and analyze the three phases of the game and what it will take for Georgia to come out victorious. I think we can kind of just bounce around more than we usually do.
Yeah, we'll keep it loose.
Yeah, I mean,
virtual bye week.
So in our vast and very thorough podcast preparation, it does seem like this. They used to be a triple option team, and so part of what I was saying earlier when I was saying that I feel like we probably played them the week before Georgia Tech. Back then, that was when Paul Johnson was at Tech, and we used to do things like let's get a smaller school that runs triple option as an opponent on the schedule the week before Georgia Tech, right? So it was like an extra. You could practice the triple option for 2 weeks and basically have like a glorified scrimmage, right? Kind of heading into Tech to make sure that you're ready for Georgia Tech. So I'm guessing it was something along those lines back then. But yeah, so they're not doing that anymore. So they have, they switched coaches a few years back. Autry Denson is their coach now, and he brought in, some form of spread offense. So no longer a triple option, which I'm glad, right? I mean, triple option. Don't want to face that like late in the year, right? With all the low blocks that go on with that type of scheme, right?
Exactly.
So definitely happy to be playing I don't know. I guess, at this point, the spread is pretty standard, right? So something more similar to what we see on a week-to-week basis.
Mm-hmm. Would be nice.
So, but interesting, like with spread doesn't necessarily just mean straight up air raid, right? So they do run the ball a lot, including their quarterback. So their quarterback is their leading rusher, Jack Chambers. So he's their leading passer and leading rusher.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's certainly strange for a spread team, I guess. But as we've seen in the past, running quarterbacks that are the leading rusher and passer for their team hasn't worked out very well for everybody.
Well, I think it'd be fair to say, like Auburn, right? Auburn under Gus Malzahn. That was a spread offense, right? And you'd have Cam Newton.
Right.
Was probably I don't know if he was leading rusher, but had to be close to it, right?
You also kind of have to, I guess, take into consideration that if you've got a spread team, some of these little passes that are dink and dunk, they show up under the receptions, but they're really function as running plays, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, that's true.
But they do seem to have, I don't know. It seems like that they kind of go with the hot hand of the moment. Some of they've got multiple 100-yard receivers. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can call it 5, 6. 5 or 6 games where they had a 100-yard receiver on top of Chambers throwing. So like they've got some guys that can catch the ball, couple 100-yard rushing days out there as well from the quarterback. But then they've got this Oscar guy that just rushed over for 100 yards recently against Gardner Webb on their most recent victory. I believe this is actually their last game of the season. So technically, this is like their senior moment too.
Interesting. I was just
I don't show them having a game after Georgia.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Well, because with FCS, right? I mean, they get into their playoff. I mean, not that they're going to make it, right? But like, I think the season ends a little earlier as they transition to playoffs. So I was kind of just going down a little bit of rabbit hole on the side here because I knew their coach's name sounded familiar, Autry Denson, and I was like, where do I know that name? So, like, did it sound familiar to you?
Autry Denson?
Yeah. So he was a running back at Notre Dame back in like the late 90s.
Okay.
So he was the MVP of the 1999 Gator Bowl for Notre Dame. So that's where I recognized him. So he played in the NFL for a bit. Got drafted by Tampa Bay. So at any rate, that's where I knew it sounded familiar. So
another Buccaneer, Buccaneer.
Yeah, exactly.
Connection.
Also interesting, right? Played at Notre Dame, like Catholic, college, and Charleston Southern is actually like a Southern Baptist university. I don't know if you knew that. I was trying to like look up like fun Charleston Southern facts. I couldn't come up with much of anything. Like that was kind of the only thing I saw.
I got nothing.
Yeah, it wasn't so much a fun fact. It's just like a fact. Like it is a Southern Baptist university. So,
right.
I think you had before we hit the record button. What was your take on just kind of? You were just looking at kind of the matchup stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking like if you were to look at this from an outside looking in, what do the stats look like? If you were to hand the stat sheet to your daughter or whatever, and what would she see, and just kind of some of the matchup information, other than the scoring and the offensive, defensive stuff. But if you look at like the passing yards and rushing yards, all that kind of stuff, you'd see two fairly, evenly matched teams, right?
Right.
Well, as we know, there's the Georgia team is where your offense goes to die. So,
yeah.
Based on the spread that just recently came out too, Jim, right? Like we didn't even have in our notes that there was a spread, but lo and behold, there became one today. It's on the board as you put it.
Right. Yeah, it's a good thing we record at night on Mondays and not early. All right, timeout. Munson is whimpering at my door. Give me a second.
I was also looking at news headlines when you went away, which one particular news headline caught my eye. Flooding in the Middle East is causing fat-tailed scorpions to infest certain areas of the Middle East. Like five people have died and 500 people have been hospitalized because of these scorpion stings.
Interesting.
Google fat-tailed scorpion and prepare to have nightmares.
Are we back? Have we done time in yet? Or are we about to time in? I feel like that was good content right there. I'm just kidding.
That was good content. We could time in. We can include it while you were away. I don't know. I had an irrational fear of scorpions growing up as a kid. I don't know what it was. I think it was like the Clash of the Titans, that movie. There's like a scene in the Clash of the Titans where like this scorpion, like this giant scorpion, like just goes through and wreaks havoc on everything.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
My nightmares as a kid was like Because one was when I watched. I say a kid. I don't know how old I was. But I was way too young, and I watched Full Metal Jacket, and like that messed with my head. Was it Tales from the Dark Side? I saw that movie. That movie always creeped me out. There's like a gargoyle segment. I didn't like
Which
that.
movie?
Tales from the Dark Side. It was like a kind of like a. It's one of those movies where like there's not just one story. It's like almost like an anthology or whatever. Like there's like 4 different segments, I guess. Kind of like Twilight Zone the movie. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, whatever. Okay, let's time it. It's going to be difficult to stay on the rails when you're previewing Charleston Southern. Not to be dismissive. I always like to add that. Yeah.
Fun fact: Dame Maggie Smith was a cast member of Clash of the Titans back then. She must have been very young.
Okay.
You know who that is?
No.
She plays the. Did you ever watch Downton Abbey?
Yes.
Do you know the old lady that was like? She would always have these very British zingers.
Oh, like the grandma?
The grandma, yeah. She was like the grandmother.
Amazing.
That's her. That's her. She was in Clash. She was in Clash of the Titans.
Wow. All right, I have to figure out where after walking away. Maybe we just never even timed out when I went to go let the dog in my office. I'll just let it roll.
Just let it roll. Hey man, we're keeping it loose. It's bye week.
I hate to be dismissive, but holy cow. Okay. Where were we? We were doing the analyzing. I got nothing. I got nothing else. Other than we can talk through some things that we want to see out of this game, but I think we've got some questions about that kind of stuff. So we can just talk about that as we go through the listener questions. But
Charleston Southern, very bad. University of Georgia, very good. What listener questions do we have, Jim?
Okay, let's go. Let's just go there. First up, we have Zach. You can follow Zach on Twitter at scdog864. Sort of a thought-out question, but all-time Georgia coaching staff can be staff from any team ever. So I assume this means. Can I add a clarification, John? Is that okay? If I add a clarification,
yes, always.
I read this.
Me. I love clarifications.
I read this as. I read this as you're saying this team's staff was the best. Insert team year that staff was the best. Not I'm going to take Vince Dooley as head coach and Todd Monken as offensive coordinator and you know what I'm saying? Pick and choose any coach from any staff and make your dream staff, or is this? I'm assuming it's what was the best staff ever. Does that make sense? Do you see the difference?
I'm reading it as wait. Did he actually use the words dream staff?
No, he said all time Georgia coaching staff, and then he put parentheses can be staff from any team ever.
I mean, given the historic magnitude of what's going on right now, you have to go with the current staff if you were to go with a full staff that's on right now.
Yeah, because here's the issue with that too, right? It's this staff just knows a lot. I mean, it's kind of like comparing current athletes to
yeah, exactly,
right? Like Babe Ruth or whatever. It's everyone's in a lot better shape now and all that kind of stuff. So, coaches today just know more, frankly, right?
Well, there's that, but then there's also the fact that the coaches also have 50,000 people supporting them.
Right. So let's do it this way. Let's go back and forth. Let's just do head coach.
Head coach. Who are you going with, Jim?
See, now I'm already struggling. So for me, options, right, would be Vince Dooley, Kirby Smart.
Dude,
right?
I'm going Kirby Smart all the way. I just
See, here's the thing. Like, because what if you go? What if you go like Vince Dooley, head coach? Wait, what if you did this? I don't think you would do
so
this.
here's
Can
I'll
we
give you
move
my
people
ration. I'll give
around?
you
Like, can Mark Richt be the offensive coordinator and Kirby's the defensive coordinator and Vince Dooley's the head
sure.
coach? That'd be pretty amazing.
Ooh, well, technically, Mark Richt was the offensive coordinator, so I think that
Ooh,
you
yes.
are well within your grasp on that one.
Ooh, but do we have to make Kirby the running backs coach? Like
No,
2005? He was never the defensive
no,
coordinator at Georgia. So is he
no.
ineligible? Does that matter?
Wait, Georgia Kirby?
He was never the defensive coordinator at Georgia.
Well,
What I said.
if I have him as head coach,
Yeah. Right.
I'm not gonna put him as the defensive coordinator.
Right. But mine, I was saying, could you do Vince Dooley, head coach, Mark Richt, offensive coordinator, and then Kirby Smart, defensive coordinator? I don't think you could, based on what we just said.
No, because
Honestly, like it's hard to not say everyone like right now.
I mean I
Like,
could rattle it off fairly
well,
quickly.
okay. So, okay, go for it.
Well, I would have to have a clarification. What roles did Irk Russell? What was Irk Russell only the defensive coordinator?
Like over time.
Did he
I
have
mean, when he
did
left,
he
he
have
was the defensive
other
coordinator.
did he have other
So
roles?
that's what I was.
Can we
That's kind of so you're kind. That's kind of where I was headed. Like you could do if you could do Kirby head coach, Irk Russell defensive coordinator. I mean, I feel like you have to have Monken as the offensive coordinator though. Like, have we ever had a better offensive coordinator than Todd Monken?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean
I mean,
technically
Bobo
Bobo,
had
but
great stats, right? But
I would put Munkin as the offensive coordinator. I would put Bobo as the quarterbacks coach.
nice. I like it. Okay. Or I would leave Del McGee as running backs coach. I feel like.
I would leave Del McGee as running backs coach for sure.
Are you going to
Wide
have Willie Martinez as your
receiver.
all-time secondary coach?
That's what I'm confirming what roles Irk had
Oh,
as
you're trying to
the
make Irk Russell be the secondary, like defensive line or secondary or something like that.
something like that.
I like it.
Okay, so he was the defensive coordinator for yeah. He was the Georgia defensive coordinator from 1964 to 1980.
That's tenure right there. That talk about like
Talk about things that will
continuity.
never be replicated.
Yeah, for sure. I think
That's
we're close
tough.
enough. I think we're fairly close. We didn't come in prepped with an answer on that one, so
I didn't come in prepped. I wasn't ready for that.
that's okay.
That's a tough one.
That's okay.
You have to like go back and like what was Wally Butts? What was Wally Butts? Was he other things?
All right, let's go. Let's go to the next. The next one's a lot easier to answer.
Okay, what do you got?
So Zach had a second question. Do you have any good or bad feelings towards Stet or JT coming back next year, with the quarterback room getting very crowded with talent? So again, they can both come back. So JT, I think, is a junior technically. I think that's right. And then Stetson is a senior, but with COVID rules, could come back. So I kind of feel like, I mean, there's no telling. Like, I kind of feel like one would come back and not both. But here's the issue. Like, I mean, at this point, I don't know about JT going to the NFL. Like, it seemed like a foregone conclusion before the season started, but it's certainly not at this point, right? And with the changes to transfer rules, like the immediate waiver is like a one-time deal. So he's already transferred once. So if he transfers again, like he's not guaranteed to be able to play right away. He'd have to apply for a waiver again, just like he did last time. So you run that risk, right?
I feel like it's a foregone conclusion that JT's coming back. Okay. Maybe I'm crazy, but
yeah,
I feel like if he were the type of, if he's as, I mean, I'll be a little snarky here, but like if he's as good as everybody says he is, then he hasn't really proved it at a high level, in my opinion. So like if he were to go, it would be a pretty risky draft for him. Like, and maybe that's okay. He doesn't strike me as the type to like, just want to be done with college. Like, we talked about on this podcast, Holyfield, we thought that Holyfield should come back. We thought that Nada should come back.
Yeah.
Um, I, I mean, frankly, he doesn't have nearly the body of work against top tier teams that either of those guys had. So it would be a really questionable thing. Now, that said, there's not a whole lot of quarterback talent out there right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I literally do not care. I literally do not care what happens at the quarterback position, because Kirby has shown that he will figure it out. Like, he's going to figure it out. He,
Yeah.
he recognizes the importance of the quarterback. We have Brock, we have Carson, we have JT, we have Stetson. Um, we've got Gunner coming in from rumors on the recruiting trail. There are quarterbacks that want to come to the university right now that we are basically saying no, or that we're not accepting. So, like, if you're turning people away at the door of the club, tells me that you've got a pretty desirable position to be in. And should all of a sudden those guys transfer, then all of a sudden you have an opening. It sounds like that there would be people beating down the door to get here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not really too concerned about it right now.
So you don't have good or bad feelings. You're just like, you know what? If they come back, they're here and we've got them. If they don't come back, we don't have them. And regardless, we're going to be okay at the quarterback position, is basically right.
Here's the thing, Jim. Yes, here's the thing. Anything related to next year, I do not care. I do not care about what's going on next. I do not care what's going on next year. I am a sponge for this season. This is the season that every single one of us has dreamed of since we all started following Georgia. That since we've realized how long it's been, all those things, like everything that the university has been about over the last decade and a half. Since frankly, since Mark. Well, I mean, probably 2 decades. Ever since Mark Rick came around, like, we showed a progression of intent to climb the apex, climb the summit. And we've basically put our money where our mouth is. We've put our talent where our mouth is, and we've got a coach that used to play for us. Like, are you kidding me? We've got a kid. We've got a walk on about to lead us into the SEC championship.
Yeah, and that part too, right there. I mean, think back to the last year Arkansas game. Like, I don't know about you. I feel like you weren't as surprised as I was, but like when Stetson was the person that came off the bench, and replaced Mathis, I was like shocked. I was like, what? Like, Stetson Bennett, holy cow. And then now here we are, right? It's pretty cool. Agreed.
It's very cool, considering that back in 2017, I didn't even really know who Stetson Bennett was until when Mel Tucker post game talked about what a beast Stetson Bennett was in replicating the offense. Like, had you really heard anything about Stetson Bennett before then?
No, I think it was the same thing, right? We all heard about him.
Who the heck is that
from
guy?
the Rose Bowl. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And,
So he was basically spelling and backing up Jake Fromm, which on paper, everything that Jake Fromm was like is kind of what, I mean, I hate to say it, but like Jake Fromm kind of JT Daniels by and large, like very much like kind of reminds me of Jake Fromm. Nowhere near as mobile, although we never really saw it from Jake in his later career. But I don't know, man. He just makes the throws and makes the good decisions, and was the manager and the game manager. He was like everything. And then to hear that this guy Stetson Bennett was, really the star of the show in the game prep for us getting to the national championship, and that guy happens to be the quarterback right now after he left the university, by the way, and then came back. And like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you can't make this up. Like, someone somewhere should be writing. I feel like Nathan should write the screenplay for this.
Nice. We'll put glasses on it and ask you. All right. Next question is from the chairman at the chairman Mao. He asks, "Has Georgia faced anyone like Charleston Southern? Is this
Oh
Georgia's
my
first
gosh.
and only real test?" So just playing on the, every week it's like we will finally be tested. So,
Yeah, no.
but yeah, no.
It's just rinse repeat until people are tired of coming up with excuses and we run out of time and yeah.
Yep. All right, Atlanta, Sean. How good is their long snapper? Which
I feel like you added that accent.
I read it how it was spelled. I read, and this is, I believe, this kind of goes back to the old like Vince Dooley coaches show. So, this would be like, we would be like this huge favorite over insert team. And, Vince Dooley they had like the pregame show or whatever. And he'd be like, well, they have the nation's best onside kicker. And he'd be like, all convinced we were going to lose to whoever. That actually did happen, by the way. The onside kicker, I think it was like Oregon State or something. But I don't know how good he is. But I did look up who is their long snapper, and his name is Ethan Ray. And fun fact, he wears the number 0. So the long snapper will be trotting out there, number 0, Ethan Ray. Don't know how good he is, but he is a senior. So he's been around for a while. I imagine he's fairly good. So
Shout out to the long snappers.
for sure. All right, Salty Dog at Rather Be Fishing 5 on Twitter. Not getting into the Stetson Bennett versus JT debate. ... Do you guys think Coach Smart is making a mistake by not playing JT more in preparation? Because JT might be needed at some point during our championship run. So, Salty Dog, I like how you were like, not to get into the debate, but kind of leaning towards the debate. Just thinking we might need him.
It's kind of like me like betting the over and predicted score.
Predicted score hits the under. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I would say it didn't bother me that Stetson played the entire Tennessee game. I'll put it that way. I think that the next 2 weeks, the odds are the score will get to the point where we're going to see JT Daniels over the next 2 weeks. So, maybe not enough last week, but also, we don't know what's going on in practice, right? So I don't know. It's hard to say without knowing that. I mean, we don't know if JT is looking great in practice or if he's still struggling. We saw a little bit of rust at least when he did return and play against Missouri. Maybe he looks even rustier in practice. Like I have, who knows? But I do expect to see him coming up in both of the next 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily like a mistake by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, so here's how I would phrase this. Like, just say that it's a mistake. That implies that we can't figure out how to win. Like you're saying that like we need to prepare to lose, if that makes sense. So like we need to have a backup plan, which obviously I think we do. Like we know what the backup plan is. The backup plan is to put JT in. It's almost like he's the emergency button that we can hit. I don't know. I feel like that Stetson and Monken have just kind of like gelled.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't know. Like we're producing at such a high level, and I'm waiting for John, and I'm gonna nudge him on this to push it out there sooner rather than later. But like John has a metric that we were looking at that like just like absolutely puts pen to paper everything that we've all been feeling. I don't want to steal his thunder, but like everything that we've all been feeling is encapsulated in this metric that John like dug up from several years ago that I haven't heard anybody talk about. Everybody talks about yards per play, points per game. net yards per play, which are all great indicators. But there is a metric that's out there that appears to encapsulate everything that we're talking about. And Georgia just happens to blow everybody out of the water in this category. And it's like,
Yeah.
When you look at the offense, you look at the defense. The defense is obviously a huge component of this. I think I heard Tony mention this on the Waiting Since Last Saturday review show for the Tennessee game. Tony basically he kind of laid it out, and it makes total sense to me. Like, everybody's talking about, oh, you can't have defense wins championships. That's not a thing anymore. Everybody's got to have offense. We got to have offense. Got to have offense.
Yeah.
Well, it appears that based on this year thus far, and frankly, like, I'm going to go ahead and just say, like, I think that we're going to win it, but it appears that you really just need, on one side of the ball, you just need to have a composite team that is just head and shoulders better than literally everyone out there in the country. And the Georgia defense is that. When you look at the strength of schedule, all the opponent stuff, like, our defense is just playing at the level that, like, and probably beyond that, like, LSU's Joe Burrow's offense did and Mac Jones' Alabama offense did.
Yeah.
So when you have the defense playing at such a historic level, it really doesn't matter what happens on the offensive side. It just so happens that the offensive side is actually performing at a very high level. I think we're, like, in the top 3 in terms of some of the offensive efficiency numbers and data points out there, like the net yards per play, the offensive yards per play. Georgia's actually performing really well. And when you take John's metric that he kind of surfaced to us earlier today, it's like, wow, like, holy cow.
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely. So we're talking about John Tweet Sports. And if you haven't yet, definitely sign up for his for Dog Dispatch. So he sends stuff out. It's on the site, but you can also get it in your email inbox once a week. I think that's going to be featured in that this week. And then, yeah, I mean, if you look at, Josh, Dog Stats, he's big into the yards per play and net yards per play. And, we've reached what I know kind of his, like, benchmark for what makes an elite team, right? I mean, we've been above it, like, all year, at least since the third game. So,
yeah, I think that the Senator and Josh, like, net yards per play, which I definitely have been tracking all year long. I think we mentioned it previously, but the net yards per play, basically, Senator Blutarsky, he kind of outlined it like, elite teams operate above a certain threshold. I think it was like 2.75 or something like that. And Georgia's, like, above that.
Yeah.
And that we've been above it all year long. So it's like, okay, we're tracking where we need to track. And it's kind of just like a benchmark of, like, are we overrated or are we not? Well, based on that metric, we definitely are not.
Yeah.
And then his, John's metric that he was talking about for the Dog Dispatch was like, it also takes into factor, like, efficiency, which is something that people throw out there. That's like, oh yeah, yards per play is great, but it doesn't really articulate, like, how efficient you are. I think that this actually does a pretty good job of encapsulating all of the things that people have been feeling about this team.
Yeah, for sure. I think that kind of, or I don't know, part of what we were just talking through, or at least talking about Stetson, kind of leads in well to this next one. So this is from SSI Dog. I would love to see a blind comparison test of stats between Bryce Young, Matt Corral, Stetson Bennett, and any other of those considered top quarterbacks right now, and see if those bashing Stetson Bennett could pick out his stats comparatively. Might be eye-opening for some. So I don't have exactly that, but I had already done something similar that I had planned on doing. So we're going to do that instead, but it's somewhat similar. So, John.
Should I be looking somewhere?
No. Well, I mean, I could.
Okay.
Yeah, so you might want to get a notepad. Or you can type this down. So if you want to just say, all right, because I'm going to give you some stats. I'm going to give you, I'm not going to say who this is. I'm going to say, like, quarterback A.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with Stetson Bennett or someone else as I go through these. Quarterback A And this is through the same amount of games. Okay, so I do want to say that, right? Because we're 10 games in, but Stetson hasn't started 10 games. Okay, right? He's started 7. So what I will say with this is these stats that I pulled together for the non-Stetson Bennett's. I will say they're not all Stetson Bennett. It's not like a trick question where every single one is Stetson Bennett. But like they're all like, so the first 7 starts of a season. Okay, that was
First
the fairest
7 starts.
The fairest way I could think of it, because Stetson has started 7 games. Okay, so through 7 starts, quarterback A is 69 of 113 passing. So it's a 61 completion percentage for 1,120 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Is that Stetson Bennett?
You said it was 69%?
61% passing.
61% passing. That is not Stetson Bennett.
Correct. All right. Quarterback B. 99 of 148, 67% pass. That's 67%. 1,409 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 picks.
That is not Stetson Bennett.
Correct. Care to guess? Well, let's keep going.
You're like, I can't wait.
All right. Quarterback C, 85 of 131. That's 65%. 1,470 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
That is not Stetson Bennett.
Okay. And last, 123 of 174, 71% completion percentage, 1,406 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 picks.
That's definitely not Stetson. Dang it. Was the last one Stetson?
It was. So quarterback C was Stetson this year. So
okay.
And here's the trick. The other 3 were all one quarterback. Care to guess who the other quarterback was?
The other 3 were all one quarterback?
Yep, 3 seasons of the same guy.
3 seasons of the same guy. Okay.
Guess. It's a Georgia quarterback.
Was it Jake Fromm?
Yep. So here's the thing. Here's the funny thing too. The first 3 I just went. So I went from the first one was from as a freshman. The second one I gave you was from as a sophomore, so 18. The third one, which we said that was Stetson, and then the fourth one was from in 2019. The funny thing to me is from statistically, like we all like talk about how awful 2019 was. Through 7 games, that was Jake Fromm's best season against the first 7 games of the other 2.
That's crazy.
So if you look at this, right? So, so he threw for Jake Fromm never threw for this many yards through his first 7 starts of any season. Okay, and again, I said first 7 starts, right? Because in 17, for example, I did not use the App State game, right? Because he didn't start that game. I probably could have included, but I didn't. I just followed my rules. So Fromm is a freshman through 7 starts, 69 of 113, 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 picks. So again, Bennett, 85 of 131, 1,470 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 picks. Fromm never threw 14 touchdowns in his first 7 starts. Never threw for as many yards. He had a higher completion percentage than that in 18 and in 19. But he's right there. So and Fromm was good. We were very excited about Fromm when he was here, right? So Stetson Bennett is right there with him.
Yeah. I don't think that we asked Jake Fromm to ever push the ball down the field the way that we've asked Stetson to do it this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be interesting to look at the air yards per attempt on some of those completions, because like I was trying to listen, like since I don't really know like 100% like what the stats are, I kind of thought that I might have known the interceptions, but the completion percentages is what I was listening for.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going like the other direction with it. I thought you were going to give me like, this is Bryce Young. This is.
Well, I told you, I didn't have that.
Spencer Rattler or whatever.
Yeah. No. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't have. I had already done the Fromm comparison, and then as we discussed, I had a home improvement issue that I had to take care of this evening with a clogged sink in the kitchen, and I did not get to add additional quarterbacks prior to recording. So apologies.
Apparently putting rice down the drain is a bad idea, Jim.
Bad idea. Bad idea. Don't do that.
That actually is like interesting though, because I mean, although I feel like that there's a whole swath of the Georgia faithful that are going to be completely unimpressed with that because they didn't want Jake Fromm or thought Jake Fromm was a terrible quarterback and wanted
No one
Justin
thought
Fields
that.
and all that stuff.
Not in 2018. Nobody thought that in 2018.
There definitely was. There's a whole swath of. I guarantee you that the same people that want JT Daniels to play quarterback right now are the same people that wanted Justin Fields to play quarterback.
Okay, in like the third or fourth game. But when we were smoking Alabama at halftime of the 2018 SEC Championship, was anyone saying, well, if we don't switch to Justin Fields, we're going to lose this game? No, nobody was thinking that. Like, everybody loved Jake Fromm back then. You know? I mean, so I don't know. That's all hindsight garbage.
I feel like you just triggered some Justin Fields folks.
That's fine. I don't care. Let's see.
Just like I don't care about anybody that thinks that JT should be starting when Stetson's been dealing the way that he has.
So I haven't, and it hasn't come out yet, but I asked a question of Chapel Bell Curve. I did ask CBC. I'm eagerly awaiting their next episode to drop because my question was, has Nathan come to terms with the fact that Stetson Bennett's QB1? So he said the short answer is yes. So I'm eager to hear that because last week when I said some other podcasts continue to talk about that, I was talking about Nathan. So I think if he's been convinced, I think everyone should be. So, anyways,
for sure.
So 51-7 GATA said Georgia has kept their starters in for a majority of every game. It seems this has to be a different story this Saturday, right? And so obviously I had my rant last episode about leaving the defense in for too long against Tennessee, but that's neither here nor there. With this opponent, I would say, yes, that's going to change. And it's been a while, right? I mean, we emptied the bench against UAB. I'll say that, right? So now UAB much better than Charleston Southern. But so I would expect to see even more bench emptying here than we saw against UAB.
Yeah, what's scary about that for the gamblers out there is that if there's a junk touchdown that's scored at the end of this game from a pick six from JT Daniels, it's going to set some people off.
I mean, end of the game, we're going to have either Beck or Vandegrift is going to be in there late. I think we're going deep. We're going deep into the bench this game.
I hope so. I would love for them to just slam the gas down and just shut everybody up.
How so? Like blow the doors off these guys? Or
blow the doors off, like clear the benches, like blow the doors off with all the guys. You know, let Carson deal, JT deal, let Vandegrift come in. I'm sure there's a walk-on in there somewhere. Like, come on.
Nathan Priestley.
Let Daniels.
Is he still here? I think he's here. I always want to call him Jason Priestley, but it's Nathan, I think.
I think we were talking about it earlier this year. Maybe it was the UAB game, but there was like a Prather Hudson. It was whoever this year's Prather Hudson is. I'd like to see
Sivan Clark. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his first name right. But yeah, he's the running back. Ooh, maybe could we have a Jackson Muschamp sighting? That's when you've gone really deep.
There you go.
That's what over under Muschamp snaps at quarterback 0.5.
Is he a senior?
No, he's a walk on. Okay. He's like a freshman or something.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. All right, Jason Huggins at HugDog18. Obvious goal is to win, stay healthy, and play a ton of guys. Who are you most excited to see play on Saturday, and why? Is there anyone in particular, John, that you're excited to see?
I would like to see Brock Vandegrift with the handcuffs off.
Yeah.
So the caveat there is like I'd like to see Brock come in and run the offense.
Yeah. Not just turn around and hand the ball off like he did against UAB.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I don't want to see someone come in like that. I don't want to see someone like that come in and like never throw the ball.
right. Yep.
So if I had my way, which I recognize Kirby is just not that kind of guy, I'm sure that we'll end up grinding the clock out the whole time. But like I would just love to see like what does Brock look like in game right now? Like how does he run the offense? Because by and large, he appears to be the heir apparent, for maybe not next year, but year after,
Hmm.
a couple of years from now. Like that's kind of where I feel like that the team is gonna try to go. Gunner obviously coming in is gonna change things, but maybe Arch changes things if he comes in. But like right now, Brock
Yeah.
was the guy that everybody was like, oh yeah, watch out for Brock this year. He may come in and take over.
Yep. I mean, remember when he threw his first pass in the spring game, and it was like,
Yeah,
ooh, that guy's got a cannon, and he took off running. I would like to see. I mean, I'd like to see him, like you said, handcuffs off. I'd like to see him running and throwing. Right. I'd like to see
yeah,
him run his own read and keep it, and see what he can do with
yeah.
that. I'd love to see that. And yeah, I'd like to see
I
him
mean,
see
he
his
seems
arm.
like a better equipped. He seems like a better equipped Stetson.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Just to add someone else, we'd like to see some of our young linemen get in. So like Amarius Mims, see what he can do. That's not quite as sexy as saying like Brock Vandegrift, but something else I'd like to see.
Yeah, for sure. That was also like one of the dark horse like freshman impact players that we had here. But
Yeah, yeah. But hey, we were right on Brock Bowers, so we'll we'll focus on that instead. See, Andy Coleman at Rain T Dog. Which am I getting this right? Don't you know Andy, or am I thinking of somebody else?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
His wife is the sister of one of my buddies
okay,
from soccer. After college,
okay,
they own a real estate company. Coleman sold it. If you're
okay.
in the Fulton County area,
Nice, nice. Okay, so he says, let's talk about getting Washington and Bowers several early touches to keep future defensive coordinators stressed to the max. Oh, and I want to see big Jordan Davis in a Fridge Perry type goal line dive play.
I would love to see Jordan Davis score a touchdown. That would give me nothing but pleasure. I don't know. I don't know that there's anything that we can show anybody out there that's going to make anybody more or less nervous.
Yeah.
I feel like we've thrown the kitchen sink at pretty much everybody. I mean, maybe not like the kitchen sink, but like we've thrown a lot at folks. I mean, we
Yeah.
just threw I feel like that the pass, if anything, like I feel like incorporating James Cook into the game plan and like
Mm.
getting more wrinkles for James Cook is going to give more pause for thought of defensive coordinators than anything else, because that pass play to James Cook was like, holy cow. If you ever see a linebacker coming out wide on James Cook, I fully expect Saban to call a timeout.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not far off from like what we had, like what McCole Hardman got matched up with a linebacker against Tech. I mean, not that Cook is that fast, but I mean, yeah, I mean, he just
He's
smoked
pretty
that guy.
quick.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I do, again, like everyone likes to hate on Gary Danielson, but he totally called that
He
when Cook went in
did.
motion. He totally called that. So, got to give him credit on
Yeah, for real. Like, I don't know. Gary gets a bad rap. I like Gary.
that. But yeah, and I would say we have seen those guys. I mean, I'm sure we will here. I mean, this game screams like 75-yard touchdown to Brock Bowers at some point, kind of deal.
Yeah.
On not even, I'm not even saying like it's a bomb or anything, but like kind of like the one against UAB, like a wheel route type thing. I could definitely see something like that. I don't know that we'll see the Jordan Davis thing. I mean, I know like I mean, the Jordan Davis for Heisman thing has grown some legs. I still don't think it would happen, but um,
They
getting him
mentioned it on the broadcast last week.
yeah, yeah. But that's different from him actually getting invited to New York. I don't know. I don't know if that happened. But
Probably not.
giving him a touch, wouldn't hurt that. I don't. I feel like that's the kind of thing that Kirby would brush off and be like, "Oh, we're not gonna." we're not worried about individual awards kind of thing,
For sure,
right?
100%.
I'm trying to think. So when we do the jumbo package, Jalen Carter is the fullback, and Davis is on the line. I'm assuming as a tight end, unless he's reporting as like a tackle. So we'd have to look at the exact formation. But so I'm assuming he's a tight end. So I would say I don't see them flipping that around. I don't think. Maybe there could be a jumbo package play action pass to Jordan Davis. That would be.
I was just going to say, are you really about to suggest a Jordan Davis pass?
I feel like the odds of that are higher than him coming in at fullback. Just my opinion.
Please.
I don't know that either will happen, but if I had to weight the two, I'd put a pass to Jordan Davis as a higher odds.
I may like go streaking if Jordan Davis catches a play action pass on the goal line. That would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
That would definitely get some headlines for sure. For sure, that would put him solidly in the conversation of all the people that talk about such things for awards.
It would be the Heisman moment.
That would be his Heisman moment. Yeah, dude. Can we please? I would love to, if you were to fast forward and if Jordan Davis wins the Heisman, like, can you imagine him on the Heisman house just with all these wide receivers and running backs, like just mountain of a man just walking in, like, who stole my Swedish fish?
So good. I mean,
but
yeah.
What you just mentioned, like Brock Bowers, like I feel like that Brock needs like another breakout game so that he can get back in the All-American conversation, because I feel like it's been relatively quiet, which isn't his fault because frankly Stetson missed him on such a long play earlier last game. So like, I mean, he's definitely been there, and obviously he's had an impact. I think he have a holding call that was fairly like it was like one of those.
That was garbage.
Oh, come on, Brock.
No, that was a horrible call. It is a bad call. Here's the thing. I'm not going to say he didn't hold, but what I will say is that the Tennessee wide receivers were holding on every single play on their like perimeter, edge passes,
right.
And Brock did the same thing they did. He just got called. So whatever.
He got called for it.
Let's see. Bobby Wilson.
Did we sufficiently answer that question?
Let's see. So we said, well, yeah. So yeah, it was Washington
right.
and Bowers, early touches, and then Jordan Davis, Fridge Perry type goal line. So yeah, I think so.
Got it.
Bobby Wilson at Bobby Wilson 1004, as if people don't know who Bobby is. Not really a question, but maybe a shout out to standout seniors like James Cook, Jamari Salyer, and Jordan Davis, and what their leadership has meant to this year's team. So hear, amen. I feel like this season started when those guys said they were coming back, and they got that kind of Twitter train rolling with all these guys with the unfinished business hashtag, right? Run it back. I mean, I was shocked with James Cook. I thought James Cook was going to go to the NFL. I thought James Cook was going to leave. To me, he was one of the more surprising ones to me. I mean, and Jordan Davis, not sure. Like, I don't know. I honestly, both of those, I was surprised. It got the ball rolling. It got us thinking what could be, and to this point, it's been that. And again, like I've talked about, like I like to look for comparisons. Not unlike 17 when Nick Chubb, end of 16, right, going to 17, when Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Lorenzo Carter, Davin Bellamy, right, when those guys all stood up and said we're coming back. These are college football is not like the NFL. I mean, it is a completely different sport. I mean, because these are kids, right? I mean, these are kids playing a kid's game. They're not professionals. And the senior leadership matters, and it matters a lot in this sport. And I think it's showing this year. And And so, I mean, I don't know. Hats off to all those guys. I appreciate them coming back. Um, I think. I mean, I think also, like it was a good move for all of these guys. Like would Jordan Davis, I think would have been the highest draft pick out of those guys we just mentioned, but he's going to be an even higher draft pick now than he would have been a year ago. Um,
Oh,
they
for
have
sure.
all made money, by coming back. So
Yeah,
it's one of those
I
things where I
think
think it
that
worked out on both sides, right?
I think that what they did is kind of like a thesis or a graduation paper on you know the the positives that can come out of coming back. Everybody always likes to talk about like, well, you better take out the insurance policy in case you get hurt, or the likelihood that you catch an ACL tear or a broken leg or whatever, like ligament problem, whatever it is, like
Mm,
all this negative Nancy stuff. At the end of the day, it's like, well, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying it. Maybe I don't need the money if some of these kids are coming from, situations, or conversely, I do think that there's a couple of things in play that I feel like that people maybe haven't like realized quite yet. Is you had a COVID year last year, which kind of erased an entire year's worth of experience from college from these guys,
yeah,
buckets. So now all of a sudden you have life basically, the kids and the kids are getting an actual ish near year of college experience now, and it's like, oh yeah, this was fun.
mm,
This is why I decided to come to the university. I kind of want to make up for that lost time that I lost out last year. So there's that aspect of it.
yeah,
The other aspect of it is that not only can I come back, but I can also make money when I previously could not. And so
yeah,
now you've got guys that are like, well, I don't necessarily need to go to the NFL and be able to like make enough to get by, or at least to have the fun that I'm used to and live the standard of living that I'm living right now. Maybe I can make, a couple 100,000 or, $1 million or whatever, but like that'll still be there. I don't know. I think that there's a number of things that are in play that people are going to start realizing that are going to impact some of these decisions moving down the road. Maybe you'll see people stick around for bowl games. Maybe you'll see people stick around for extra seasons. Obviously, these COVID guys, some of the guys that were freshmen last year are going to be able to make some of these decisions moving forward. And it's just
mm,
like, I think that to a certain extent, as a University of Georgia fan, like, as an alumni, I'm a little bit grateful. Like, as you were talking through it, I was like, like there was a COVID year and some of these kids can make these COVID decisions. It's like, in a way, the COVID helped Kirby stockpile his talent, because not only did the year slow down, these guys chose to come back, which kind of pushed back the need for us to completely fill holes.
mm,
Some of these guys are making decisions, like maybe some of them are going to stay, maybe some of them aren't. And it's kind of put Kirby in the situation where the spots that he has to fill are a premium. And so he can really pick and choose what he wants. Not only that, but like the product that they've put out on the field is so elite that there's kids that are literally saying, you know what, I don't want to go to that school down south. I don't want to go to that dumpster fire at Florida. I want to go to the University of Georgia.
yeah,
I don't want to go to Ohio State. I want to go to Georgia. I don't want to go to USC. I want to go to Georgia. Like that's what's happening right now, and it's really really fun to see it all play out.
yeah. You didn't pronounce Florida correctly, but other than that, 100% agree. All right, let's go to Fletcher Proctor. And I think you've been waiting on this one for the entire recording. What has been your all-time favorite cupcake team that has played betwixt the hedges? Not named, and he said not Nicholls State, obviously. Uh, I saw 51-7 GATA responded with a good one, and that was Southern, when they brought
Mm-hmm.
their band. Obviously, he mentioned obviously Devin Gales.
Georgia, are we talking about Georgia Southern, right?
No, Southern University,
Oh,
just
Southern University.
right
Okay,
because
okay,
they've got like
okay.
the human jukebox. band. But
Mm-hmm.
that was the game when Devin Gales got injured, so he was calling out like that.
That's
Obviously
right.
wasn't great in the game, but seeing their band. Although I mean now Devin Gales is enrolled at Georgia, I believe is a student at Georgia now. But at any rate, do you have one? I have one that I think I'm not sure if it qualifies as a cupcake or not. I mean, to me it is, but mine's Kent State in 1998. Is Kent State? Do they count as a cupcake? I think to me they're a cupcake.
Okay.
And my reasoning is just that was my first game as a Georgia student. So my freshman year, that was the first game. So that's mine, and that was the Quincy Carter debut. And I remember the first drive. I don't remember how many plays, but the first touchdown was a Quincy Carter to Champ Bailey, just like absolute bomb. So I don't know. I'll always remember that. So that's mine personally. If you can count, there's not a direction in their name. Generally, directional schools are always cupcakes. But anyways,
Right. Let's see. All right. So favorite cupcake. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to go with Georgia Tech. This is really tough.
Okay, let's move on. That was amazing.
No. Seriously. I'm a big proponent of in-state rivalries, and so I would love to see Kennesaw State rise to that level. I know we haven't gotten there yet, but Georgia Southern I think is a great for now in-state cupcake rivalry because of obviously the Eric Russell connections and
yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of let's preserve all of the in-state things that makes Georgia great.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer. But I have a feeling that Kennesaw State is eventually going to get to that level, but that's a little ways off.
Yeah. Fair. Okay. Now this is the part. His second question, I think, is what you've been really waiting for. Also, because we are playing a cupcake. What is your favorite Little Debbie product? And Fletcher adds, 11 months a year, it's Swiss rolls for me, but for December, it has to be Christmas tree cakes. So do you have a favorite?
Okay, so a favorite growing up or a favorite if I were to go to the store today and get because I feel like a clarification is needed here. Because growing up all through I was a sucker for honey buns growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Honey buns were my jam. So if I went on a road trip, if I was in high school and I needed a quick breakfast, I would destroy some honey buns, and I would get excited when my mom came home with honey buns. However, I would also get excited when she came home with what were they all right. So this kind of goes into Fletcher's question.
I'm sitting here. I've got the Little Debbie website up right now, so I can look at everything. You don't have this level of preparation like me. I mean, I'm on the site.
I didn't.
LittleDebbie.com. LittleDebbie.com.
I didn't because I had my answer because my answer technically is honey buns. Honey buns is my thing.
Yeah.
I haven't actually purchased a Little Debbie product in probably multiple years.
I have no idea. Years. My question would actually be: have I ever personally purchased a Little Debbie? Because because we don't have them in our house, but I had them in my house growing up. So my parents bought them, right? I ate them, but have we bought them for our kids? And this is where our kids get mad at us. They're well, you got to have these things.
Exactly.
I don't know. Exactly. I feel like Kim would totally squash that, and I don't know that I don't know that we've ever bought this.
I feel like, dang, dude, are you serious?
I'm sure we have. I know they've had them.
I've definitely purchased the Christmas cakes because I remember my wife bitching and moaning at me about buying the red velvet Christmas cakes. She's like, "There's so many dyes in this." Blah, 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 right for first court, sir. But the Swiss cake rolls, all right, so here's my deal. Like basically like all the cake stuff, like the devil squares, the fancy cakes, the Swiss cake rolls. I mean, I personally enjoy the chocolate cupcakes, which I think like other brands maybe
Oh,
called like
dude. So
Ding
the
Dongs or
chocolate.
something.
So for me, that like again, like back as a kid, like it was the chocolate cupcakes for me. Like
Well,
as far
well,
as what
so
I
I
wanted to have. Now, did I have like
yeah,
as far as like having the most? Swiss rolls. Like we used to buy those. The Nutty
yeah.
Buddies. I know, like the
Nutty
bars.
Buddies are
So we used to
solid.
eat those. Um, you know, we used to get the oatmeal cream
Zebra
pies.
cakes.
We used to get the oatmeal cream pies as well, but now those have a negative connotation because Saban eats them like every day. So now I can't even look at them. Like I don't want everything to do with
Mm-hmm.
them. But as a kid, I
Mm-hmm.
did like
Mm-hmm.
those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
for sure. I don't know the
for nostalgia purposes, I'm gonna say the chocolate cupcakes because I
did
just
you did you ever have the Star Crunch?
uh, what category is that under on the website? Because I don't remember those.
The Star Crunch was the one that was like a cookie coated in like Rice Krispies and
Toasted cookie.
caramel. It basically like you took one bite of it and it was like you were trapped.
Oh, I see that. Yes, I have had that. Ooh, yeah, those are
Yes,
amazing. Mm.
I know you have.
Okay, yeah, of course I have.
No, no, no. All right. So the chocolate cup, I feel like the chocolate cakes, the ding dongs or ho hos or whatever you want to call them, like those types of things are like the quintessential. Like that's like how I feel like that's like how Little Debbie got their start, right? Was in
Mm.
stuff like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But everything else, I feel like once you get like, all right, so you got the chocolate cupcakes. Let's just assume that that was like their first product. Literally everything else after that is just an iteration of that product
Right.
because the cake is the same, right? It's the same cake.
Yeah, but it's still amazing. They're all amazing.
Yes, they're all amazing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you could literally just basically it's like, all right, well, the chocolate cupcake is my favorite. Well, I also like the devil square. Well, it's literally the same thing, sir.
Right, right. Yeah, fair.
I remember as a kid, like
I'm still going
really,
chocolate cupcakes as my favorite.
yeah, for sure. Chocolate cupcake would definitely be my favorite for sure. Well, outside of the honey buns,
Okay,
because
okay. So you
that
get like
was
a
as a
one
kid
A.
that
You get like a one and a one A.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
Uh,
I remember as a kid like being like strawberry shortcake rolls, like this is going to be so amazing, and then actually eating it, and I was like, no, this doesn't taste as good as I thought it was going to be.
right, right, right. Okay.
You're, Fletcher took me back to my fat kid days.
So good, so good. All right, I love how like we were more into that than like analyzing the opponent. That's okay. Hey,
I'm
yeah,
so
that's what
into it
happens.
because you can
That's
go
what
into so
happens.
many things because then you can go into like value per ounce. Like we could talk about value per ounce instead of
Mm.
yards per play. Let's talk about value per ounce on little Debbie cakes.
So good, so good. All right. Well, I don't have. I didn't hook up the soundboard tonight, so apologies to Coach Truebill. So no intro music this
Hold
week.
on, hold on.
Can you do
I got,
the human
I
intro
got.
music? So good, so good. What's that? It's Coach Truebill's music that John's doing. All right, coaches over unders. UGA points over under 63 and a half. So he has gone above the Vegas line. Should we table that until we get the actual predictions? We'll table that one. We'll just acknowledge that was Coach Trillbill's line, and when we give
Got
our
it.
score predictions, we'll know. Over under 7.5 offensive TDs. That's similar there, but that's not totally
I
giving it
told.
away.
Should we just table Coach Trills?
We can table those too. Let's go to the rest of them. The rest of them don't.
Score items.
Yeah, the
Okay.
rest of them don't matter as much. Over under 1.5 defensive touchdowns.
1.5 defensive touchdowns. I'm going to go under.
Okay, I'm going to agree. I'll go under. And then over under 0.5 special teams touchdowns. I'm going to go over. I want to take that.
I'm going to go under.
Okay. I think this is the game where we get a punt return for a touchdown. I'm calling it right now.
Wait. Hold on, we're talking like punt return and kick return touchdowns, or we're talking like we
Just
block the kick
it
touchdowns
doesn't
as
matter.
well.
Special
Okay,
teams is a
okay.
third of the game.
I'm going under. I'm going under.
You're still going under. Okay. It could be
I'm still going to go under.
any of all the above, right? So
Okay,
okay.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Fair.
Over under 275 passing yards for Georgia.
Total?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 275 was the number?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go over. And then over under 250 rushing yards total.
I'll go under.
You're going to go under both of those? You don't think we're going to have 500 yards of offense? Because I do. Over. All the overs. Okay. Over under.
I have a feeling we're gonna have some short fields. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, that's fair. See, I hadn't taken that into account.
See, Jim?
Yeah. Okay. See, you're putting a lot more preparation into this than I thought. Okay. I'm gonna stay where I was. I'm gonna stay pat. Okay. JT enters the game in the second quarter.
I think he.
Yeah.
This
is a good line.
In the hopes of getting to Jackson Muschamp, I'm going to say over.
So meaning,
but yes, he gets in the second.
I'm going to define that as a push because I think it will be the second quarter when JT enters. I think we'll see something like Stetson gets the first quarter, JT gets the second, and maybe into the third, and then from there on, we just kind of start emptying the bench. That's how I hope it goes. That's my script, if I could write it. And then he said, this is more of just a prediction, loudest senior day applause, and his pick is Jordan Davis. So we'll just say Jordan Davis or the field.
Who are the other seniors? James Cook.
Man, this is where I really wish I did have the soundboard because I would have just interjected with Robert Beal. As a senior. I mean, this is the thing, though, right? Where we gets back to from the news and notes, Kirby talking about seniors walking, right? I mean, Stetson Bennett could be out there, or he could not be, right? So, I think those are probably going to be the closest ones. I don't think there will be a smattering of boos for Stetson, as Chip Towers once said.
Yeah,
I kind of think Jordan Davis, though. I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's the right call.
For sure.
I will say it's not as easy of a pick as like when, say, Rodrigo Blankenship was here, right? Like that was like somehow easily always the most cheers. So I would say it's not that cut and dry, but I do think it's Jordan Davis. Okay. So into our game predictions themselves. So the spread is Georgia is favored by 54.5. The over-under is 61.5. So that gives us the implied score of Georgia 58, like 58 to 3.5, something like that. Or the odd shark predicted score is Georgia 56 to nothing. I'll just go with mine. I've got Georgia winning 52 to 3. That's my prediction.
I'm going straight up like statistics here on their score line. So we're averaging about 23 points like impact to the opposing team's average score line, which puts us at 3 points. So I'm going to go from that to what does it look like to cover? So I'm going to go 58 to 3.
58 to 3. Okay.
I would love to hit 60, which like what's the biggest scoring differential for Sanford Stadium, like for a home game?
I have no idea.
That would be interesting. We'll put glasses on it for the review game.
Yeah, man, I really needed. When I said I don't have the soundboard hooked up, and you said it was okay, you should have said hook that up. Because I would have just used it again. That's okay.
Hook it up.
We'll be okay. We made it. We made it through.
I feel like you can inject that like post
I
production.
could. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Why did I even mention that at all? It's totally easy post production. That's okay. Next time. But now that I've said it and like admitted it, I'd have to edit myself out of saying that, and that's just way too much work. All right. Well, I am excited for senior day. I don't know. TBD. I would say still up in the air if I go there. I would say um, I would. I don't know. Probably leaning towards I probably won't be there, but who knows? I may have a last minute change and head down there.
Over under 0.5 Jim Wood appearances in Athens.
So what about 0.5 members of My God a Podcast attend this game? We're gonna set that at 0.5.
Under.
What? Oh, now, here's my opportunity to say over and then go and then beat you on that one pick.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know, man. The opportunity to wear my starter jacket at the Sanford Stadium is kind of that's kind of swaying me a little bit. We'll see. But yeah, no, but regardless, great day to honor the seniors. So for those who are going to be there and will be in attendance, cheer for those guys. And kind of one last chance to soak it all up and see this special team to play between the hedges this year. So definitely envious of those who will be there.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Just especially because it's just another opportunity to see the dogs play at home. But yeah, if you are tailgating, I recommend a nice honey bun with a with a nice sweet bourbon. I'll go with the 1792 bottled and bond. I may actually tweet out a picture of my little Debbie pairing for the weekend.
I feel like now I'm like, man, we're definitely having like the chocolate cupcakes for dessert after the game on Saturday. So
it's not a celebratory cigar; it's a celebratory little Debbie. Thanks a lot, Fletcher.
Oh wait. Now what if we do that? But you could get the Swiss rolls, and then like you're eating a Swiss roll, and have the picture like you're smoking a cigar. I feel like that works.
That's it.
That works.
Let's do it.
Okay, definitely.
Let's do it. My wife will have way less judgment on me if I do that, which is actually saying a lot.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know we weren't exactly sure how we were going to go through and preview this one, but thank you to everyone who sent in a question. Much appreciated. And we got some good ones as we always do. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for listening. But yeah, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.